talk tough movies. Here's a superhero with the biggest pair of all.
You looking for me?
There she was, just walking down the street singing.
Miss Elvira is a slimy, slithering succubus, a concubine, a streetwalker, a trap.
Yes, she's got it all. She's everything you've ever wanted in a movie. A woman and a casserole.
She was walking next to me singing.
You'll see lots of weird romance.
What's that perfume you're wearing?
Super unleaded. Don't smoke.
Loads of drooling madness.
Ew, I hope you change the sheets.
Hey, Elvira, we got us a couple more volunteers.
Great! Just grab a tool and start banging.
A whole gang of awesome monsters.
I'm bad, Jamal, you know it.
And a few sleazy experiments.
There's nothing wrong with G-rated movies as long as there's lots of sex and violence.
The charge is witchcraft.
We want to have one of these every year.
See Elvira. As Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
But if they ever ask about me, tell them I was more than just a great set of...
It's the greatest double feature of all time.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome back to the show.
Oh, man. This movie, I love it so much. And that trailer I love so much.
It's a great trailer. Listeners, boys and girls, everybody in between, we've got a really great show for you today. We've got a wonderful movie that is just a piece of my heart. This movie is just everything that, has made me the person I am today.
Definitely. Same.
Scott, would you like to talk about the movie?
Well, first, my name is Scott.
Oh, yeah.
And you're Pete.
And I'm Pete.
And what are we doing here?
And these are the movies that made us gay. Yay!
It's the first time you almost missed the opening.
I know.
You were so looking forward to talking about the movie.
I really was. I needed to jump right into it. Well, first of all, I'd like to welcome a very special guest, friend of the show, Ben Cheaves. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're
Super
very
excited.
Welcome to the show.
You're very welcome. Welcome to the show. We've got a really fun movie today. Scott, talk about Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, released September 30th, 1988, directed by James Signorelli, written by Cassandra Peterson, Sam Egan, and John Paragon. A movie that is very dear to both Pete and I's heart. We definitely have a background with Elvira.
Yes.
As for us as a couple.
Yes.
What about you, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been obsessed with her, and I mean, I joke that I've seen this movie 300 times, but literally,
same.
It's just always on. I watch it like 5 or 6 times a year.
Yeah,
I feel like this is also a movie that we'll go out to the bars and then we'll stumble home at like 2:30 in the morning and just put it on and pass out. So we've probably have seen this beginning like 300 times.
Yeah, the beginning. Maybe we don't always make it to the finale.
Yeah, Uncle Vinny's madness, I start to kind of tune out of it.
But I do love where it goes, and there's a lot of things that we've talked about it in the past where we'll just talk about, like, wouldn't it be great if they were able to have done this, like exploring Elvira's really witchy side that we get to, like, towards the end of the movie.
That baby.
Oh my God.
I want to see the baby's movie of her.
Baby Elvira growing up in the orphanage. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Wearing makeup, date.
I was only 8. Do we want to talk about our personal origins with the movie?
Well, I mean, we should probably start with our personal origins of Elvira as a person, because that predates me seeing this movie. Because, believe it or not, I did not see this movie until about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
When I first met Pete. I remember you introduced me to this movie a couple blocks down in your teeny little studio apartment.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I grew up in Elvira. I mean, I just knew her from advertising.
Yeah, everybody knows who she is.
You saw like Halloween TV commercials with her. I definitely remember seeing the Elvira Coors Light standee going into convenience stores. So she's just sort of a part of this public consciousness, especially if you were born in the mid-'80s. She's just always been there.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you, Pete?
Can we talk about that Coors Light ad with the Wolfman?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Like, such a gay boner.
Seriously. Oh, man. Well, yeah, like you, I have memories of her from, you know, the like commercials, the beer commercials, things like that, but also Elvira's movie Macabre was always just kind of on. Especially, I mean, I grew up in Los Angeles, so they did show her hosting, you know, horror movies on Saturday and Sunday afternoons, you know, on just
we had here in Atlanta. I remember seeing it and like, I remember watching the show and knowing who she was, but then kind of tuning out once the movies would start. I'd kind of, I mean, they were really bad, so I'd just be like, well, I'm going to go outside and play.
Now, Ben, do you remember when this movie was released in theaters? Because I just have a memory of it on home video.
I remember it being in the theater and wanting to go, but not getting to go. Like, I just, whatever. I was 10 or 11 and didn't have the means to get there.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was, you know, it came out in the video store, and I was like, that was my weekend plan as soon as it came out.
And did you find a way to, did you own it? Did you just tape it from the video that you rented, or did you just rent it a bunch of times?
I'm sure I just rented it a bunch. Like, I would just rent the same movie over and over and over as a kid.
Yeah, as we all did.
Right. So, and then I taped off a cable as soon as I was able to.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. My family at one point got a little fancy and decided to daisy chain 2 VCRs together so that you could play the rented movie on one and record it on the second one, because we were fancy and thieves.
My family did that too. My dad, what finally pushed him over the edge was he wanted to own Crocodile Dundee.
Well, that'll do it.
So he was like, we're gonna figure this thing out.
Yeah. You know what we did? You know what you could do is you didn't have to have 2 VCRs. You needed a VCR and you needed a camcorder. Because if you could daisy chain those two together, the camcorder would play it and the VCR would record it. And then boom, you got yourself a movie forever. And so we had Elvira. Yeah. So we had Mistress of the Dark, and I feel like I don't really have big memories of it being in the theater and like lobbying to go see it, but I definitely think that I wouldn't have been like, hey, like, Mom, like, take me to see this movie, because I don't know, I felt like it was a little bit too like risque.
Yeah, that's what I always kind of assumed when I would see this video box at the video store.
Yeah.
Is that this is like an adult comedy kind of around the lines of Porky's.
Yeah.
But which is funny, because I remember when I watched it, I just remember thinking like, oh, well, this is pretty much like a family movie.
Yeah.
Like, this is just Pee-wee's Big Adventure, but starring Elvira. And I think that was probably sort of the pitch of it. Because I think at the time, they offered with NBC Elvira a sitcom. Yeah. But she held out for a movie. And the idea was to sort of do this Pee-wee or Ernest take with Elvira, that she would always be having these separate adventures. Like, the Ernest movies were doing really well, and that was sort of like the intention of Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
Sure.
And yeah, I just...
What were you going to say, Ben?
There's a connection with the Pee-wee, because they were like in the Groundlings together, and the writer, I can't remember his name,
John Paragon.
John B. He was John B. from Pee-wee's Playhouse. He was the head of it, and like, so he was a writer for them. So I think that's kind of the charm of the movie, is that it's the same as Pee-wee. It's like kind of like a character that's a fish out of water, but it's just kind of played, you know, she's played straight too. So there's no.
Yeah, that's like the interesting thing about it, and it is what makes it so charming. Is like these characters are kind of like super punk rock in a way, you know? Like, they're these subversive adult characters that started out in comedy clubs and like nightclubs in the 80s that they turned into these, you know, kind of universal performances. While Elvira was obviously aimed, you know, probably at like straight men audiences just because of her visually, but like the jokes and the tone of the movie overall is like, it's just super sweet and she's just so funny and charming. But it does still have that little punk rock edge in there, you know?
Yeah, I think it's like a lot of those kind of Gen X performers at the time were like building off of their nostalgia of watching Leave It to Beaver and like all this stuff. It's like that kind of like 50s nostalgia.
Yeah.
And then you have that coming in with the Reagan era, and they kind of are reacting to that and that conservative wave. And like everything's like kind of taking those like 50s Americana thing and turning it on its head.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I think this is part of that.
Yeah, especially because in the storyline of this movie, Elvira comes to town and the townsfolk try to run her out just because visually, she looks like the wrong kind of person. But like ultimately at the end of the day, like she brings the whole town together.
It's a very Pollyanna story. I remember reading that the original pitch for Pee-wee's Big Adventure was a Pollyanna story. I think that Paul Rubens mentions that on the commentary.
Yes,
I almost kind of wonder, just because Cassandra and Paul were friends, that she just ended up taking the core of that idea and putting it in Mistress of the Dark.
Yeah.
That's just kind of what I kind of draw from that too.
Yeah, I feel that way too.
Yeah, this idea of this Pollyanna character coming to town of just like these old like conservative people and they eventually bringing color.
And they eventually did that in Big Top Pee-wee.
Yes, they eventually did in Big Top Pee-wee.
Right.
And I love, too, that, like, again, just looking at Elvira, you think that she's just, like, this dark lady, this, like, gothic, you know, witchy woman. But, like, when she does come to town and she inherits this house and she, like, paints the house, it just becomes this crazy, like, Punky Brewster, like, Dayglow mansion. Yeah. And I love that scene so much when they just look at the house and all the kids are just like, oh, man. And she looks at it, she drops.
It's fabulous.
It's fabulous. It's so good. But okay, so we kind of have to give a little bit of backstory on Elvira, the character, and what she did as far as like hosting these horror movies.
Yeah, I have a little
for
bit
people who are unsure of what that was.
I have a little bit of that written. So like back in the day, probably in I would say the late 50s and early 60s, you would just have an afternoon horror movie on your local like Channel 5 or Channel 3 or something, and they would just introduce and be cut in with afternoon movies. And Elvira kind of came about in the late spring of 1981, 6 years after the death of Larry Vincent, who starred as the host Sinister Seymour of a Los Angeles weekend horror show called Fright Night. The show's producers they tried to look for a new host, and they wanted to do a female host, and they offered the spot to Vampira.
Mila Nurmi.
But she ended up passing on the project, and the studio went for a casting call, and Peterson auditioned and won the role. So it's kind of, I don't really know what she really brought in to get the role. But anyway, they were taken by her, and she was funny. Like, I think that her angle with the whole thing is that she has an improv background. She wasn't quite doing the regular spooky stuff that everyone else was doing. Like the whole like Vincent Price, like, come in, my darlings, like, come and watch this movie. Like, her angle was to be funny. And the producers left it up for her to decide on the role's image. And her best friend, Robert Redding, came up with the idea of a sexy punk vampire look, and the producers rejected her original idea was to look like Sharon Tate's character in the Fearless Vampire Killers. Have you ever seen the Fearless?
I'm not familiar with that.
Vampire Killers. Have you, Ben? Yeah. So like that was her idea, and they wanted something a little more like macabre.
Okay.
And that's where they came up with the look for Elvira. And I guess that the hair was inspired by a Ronette wig. And they just sort of kind of created this character of Elvira.
It's interesting when we watched this movie with the commentary a couple of days ago with Cassandra's commentary. And she's mentioned in other outlets as well that she wasn't very pleased with the wig styling in this movie because her because the man that Scott mentioned, her friend who she created the look with, he did her wigs for her, and after he passed away, she wasn't able to find someone to replicate the look.
Yeah, it's got a bad feather going on. It's like coming out from the...
You know, we just bought the Blu-ray of the movie. We had the DVD for years and years, and on the Blu-ray, it's a lot cleaner, and you can really see that it just kind of looks like one wig stacked on top of another. It looks like a straight, like it just looks like a long, straight, parted down the middle wig with a beehive sitting right on top, like stacked right on top of it. And
yeah, when she takes the back, you can see it.
Yeah,
and it's
and if you look at like more early '80s Elvira images, it's a lot more of like a cool Joan Jett kind of a shag.
It's kind of a shag, on the bottom.
Oh, Joan Jett, yeah.
Yeah, and there's definitely a distinction. And growing up, I was just so accustomed to watching this movie and this being the quintessential Elvira look that when we got the Elvira coffee table book, and that's got all the old pictures in there. And when you see those old images, you're just like, wow, it is a different look. Like, it really is a whole different wig that they had. And
yeah, she looked like 80s, like Hollywood Boulevard punk.
Yes, yeah, for sure, for sure. And I mean, I like this look in the movie. I like the big beehive. It is very, it's a little bit more hot rod than like you said, like LA punk. It's a little bit more of a hot rod, like psychobilly kind of a thing. But that goes perfectly with the character, so I'm on board with it.
And
I'm into it.
Just sort of the character of Elvira. It's just kind of interesting. Like, what exactly is she? She's not a vampire. She's not really a witch. But in this movie, she kind of is. But that's kind of an added backstory.
They kind of explored her witchiness in this movie, but then it was just kind of like dropped.
But she's like...
But then she had a sitcom.
Yes.
There's a failed sitcom where she was a witch. It was basically Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
We love the sitcom.
But
it's on YouTube.
Okay, so we watched the sitcom once, and I want to say it was like, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
So I don't really remember a lot from it. Have you seen it a bunch of times? Or?
Yeah, I've seen same thing. I've seen it on YouTube. Every once in a while, like, want more Elvira and find it.
And I remember being charmed by it, but I also kind of remember it just being like, kind of run-of-the-mill sitcom.
But that said, I want like
Mona from
multiple seasons.
It is Mona from Who's the Boss. I love that.
I want like multiple seasons of this 5-camera sitcom with Elvira. That all takes place in the living room. You see all of these adventures with her.
Yeah, it's just so unfortunate thinking about like what could have been. Like when we hear Cassandra talk about how they pitched it like an Ernest franchise where they could have gotten multiple movies, I would have watched Elvira Gets a Girl Scout Troop. I would have watched,
oh my God.
Elvira Goes to the Water Park. Like any of these, any of these adventures that never happened would have been so much fun.
Elvira gets like drafted in the army or something.
G.I. Elvira?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I would have loved that.
Oh my God, Private Elvira.
Private.
I'm just envisioning the posters.
Yeah.
So my kind of, I think that she's just a horror groupie.
Yeah.
Like she just loves to be around spooky stuff.
Like Elvira as a person.
Yes,
like
Elvira as a person.
Yes, I agree.
And it's a little part Valley Girl too.
Yeah, her characterization. But she also just has a slammin' body.
Yes.
And like that's just part of it. That's just part of it. But that comes from the Vampira like kind of aesthetic.
Well, and also Cassandra's background as a showgirl too. We can talk a little bit about that when we get to the showgirl scene of the movie, but that whole portion of her life is fascinating too.
Love it.
Like dating Tom Jones and Elvis.
I saw something that had her.
Had what?
I saw something that had her measurements in it, and apparently she's 5'7", 110 pounds, with a 34, 21, 34.
21?
I'd love it.
34, 21, 34, which according to Sir Mix-a-Lot is not even good enough if you're 5'3".
Maybe if you're 5'3".
More than that.
Wow. I mean, those are pretty impressive measurements.
Yeah.
I do love the fact that she just kind of owns this whole like boobarella, aesthetic. She's just like, this is my character. This is it. I'm gonna wash the windshield of this car with the camera underneath me.
Mirror tricks.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't love a good boob joke? But what kind of separates Elvira and why I think the character has aged really well is that Elvira has this undercover feminist message to its viewers. Like, this is a woman that gives zero fucks about what people think of her, and she's very sex positive. She's a very sex positive woman who just owns it. Everything on her is sort of on her terms. She calls the shots, and it's way more than just a spooky male gaze. Cassandra has a very empowering message to its viewers, and gay men kind of see that message the most, and it speaks to them a lot.
Sure.
Would you guys agree?
Totally. I kind of forget that she's not just for gay people.
Yeah.
Like, men like her. I'm like, I forget that there's like horny, like horror movie, comic book guys who are like into her, and I'm like, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
She's not just a drag queen.
Ben,
right.
How's your head?
Never had any complaints.
Yep.
I met her at a haunted house here one time. Like, she was like the opening of something. Mm-hmm. And this was pre-camera phones. But my friend got her to sign like a fake plastic knife and sign it as, I cut you, man.
I cut you, man.
When she... and she like thought for a second. She was like, how do I spell that? And then she just wrote it out.
M-A-N-G. That's how you spell it.
I remember seeing her take pictures of somebody's tattoo at the booth too.
Yeah,
that's
like her own.
That
camera.
Cassandra's seen some crazy tattoos with her likeness on it.
Oh, that reminds me. My older sister one year for Halloween went like as like a punk. For Halloween when we were like 10 years old or whatever. And so she was like a 10-year-old punk. And she bought a like little studded spike bracelet that had like a little snap closure on the back. And it was branded like from the Elvira collection.
Amazing.
And when you open it, like on the inside, like the fake suede, like underside of the studded bracelet was the Elvira signature logo. And and after Halloween, after she wore the costume and like finished being a punk and was like done with it, I straight up stole it and would wear it to PE class at school.
Amazing. I'm wearing an official Elvira t-shirt right now. I don't know if you can see it.
I love that t-shirt. Yeah. It's beautiful.
This is like a beautiful 80s glamour shot of her too.
Yes.
That's good hair.
Yeah, that's good hair. That's the 80s shag hair. But yeah, I'll never forget. I stole that punk rock Elvira bracelet, and I loved that it was from the Elvira collection. I was just like, oh, this is like her officially licensed Halloween merchandise. Does she even still have official? Yeah, there's
because when you go to Hollywood and Highland, they have a whole section of the candy store that's Elvira.
So let's talk a little bit about the plot of this crazy movie. And
so it opens at the TV station. I love the TV station scenes. I think that they're some of my favorite of the movie. Yeah, having to go to like broadcasting school.
Yeah,
I love them.
I love any movie that starts off with like, take this job and shove it.
Oh, yes.
Like living the dream.
I mean, she gets sexually harassed and she tells this guy to fuck off. That's amazing.
Yeah.
By the owner of the TV station. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love Manny, her agent. He's just like this super like 70s like cliche. He's got like the plaid, the plaid sports coat. And like,
I love it. And that she like is in Vegas with Chucky Green. That's totally like a 70s like Borscht Belt.
Yeah,
comedian
for sure.
Throwaway joke.
I love that. Oh, and I always have to mention this. So the whole idea is that she's trying to get this Vegas review, and the impetus of the movie is that she can have a showroom at the Flamingo, but she needs to front some of the money to get the show up and running, and she needs to front $50,000.
$50,000,
which is a lot of money, and that's crazy. And the whole thing is, Manny, her agent, keeps referring to the flamingo, and he keeps saying like, "Well, the flamingo wants the money, and the flamingo, you know." And as a kid, I did not know that they were referring to the flamingo as the hotel. And I just assumed the flamingo was like a person, like an underground,
like a gangster.
Yes, that's what I thought the flamingo.
Dick Tracy villain.
Yes, exactly. So I just every time Manny was just like the flamingo wants their money, I just thought like Elvira was just going to get her thumbs broken or something. That's kind of what I was.
It's a lot more high stakes.
Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're like. Okay.
But you know, if one Miss Tyra Banks has taught us anything,
this is true,
and she hasn't. But of all her years hosting Top Model, is that if anybody asks you for money up front,
nope,
don't do it. It's a scam. If they want you, they'll pay for you.
If they want to take your picture, they will pay for the photo for you.
Yes, indeed. But we have a little clip of Manny and Elvira here, so let's listen to this bit for the movie.
There's no problem with the show, is there?
Problem? Complications, maybe, but never a problem.
All right, out with it, Manny.
Okay. The flamingo won't go ahead with the show unless you come up with some money to help finance it.
How much do they want?
$50,000.
$50,000? Are you nuts? How am I going to come up with that kind of money?
Maybe it's not too late to get your job back.
Forget it, Manny. I'm never working for that sleazeball again. I'll just have to find another sleazeball.
Telegram from Miss Elvira. I'll take it. Dear Elvira, as executor of the estate of your great aunt, Miss Morgana Talbot, I'm sorry to inform you of her untimely passing.
Oh, I didn't even know I had a good aunt, much less a great one. Let me see that. It says here all I have to do is come to Falwell, Massachusetts for the reading of the will, and I'll give him my inheritance. Is that timing or what?
So
the great aside.
I love the visual gag of her behind the changing area, and she's flipping over clothes like she's going to be naked, and then she comes out and she's wearing
the same dress,
the same black dress. That's so funny.
Like, what is she's changing out of the black dress into another version of the black dress? Yeah, maybe she just has that closet. She's got that closet where it's just hanger after hanger of the same dress.
Have you ever noticed the Pee-wee doll? There's a Pee-wee Herman doll.
Oh, no, I don't know if I noticed that.
Yeah, in her dressing room, there's
these drive-in posters.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool Easter eggs in the dressing room. There's a Pee-wee. I believe it's it's not the ventriloquist doll. It's just the one that you pull the string and he says different phrases. And there's an Alice Cooper poster.
So there was a headshot of somebody who we thought was Christopher Lee, but it turns out it is Nicolas Cage.
It is Nicolas Cage.
We were wondering that, and then Cassandra said it on the commentary that it's Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. I think there's also some pictures of Vincent Price. What's that?
Were they a thing in the 80s?
No, she just said that she thought he was really handsome, and she just thought he was so cool and was her favorite actor. So
she gets in her macabre mobile.
So yeah, now she has to drive across the country to maybe get an inheritance.
She drives from Los Angeles to Massachusetts.
To Falwell, Massachusetts.
In that top-down convertible.
All to that hair metal song.
Yeah.
That's Cassandra singing the lyrics too. That's Cassandra singing.
Oh, wow. No,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I love that song, and I love the montage of her getting from L.A. to Falwell.
We have to mention Bill Cable. Pinup hunk Bill Cable,
love Bill Cable.
Who is her boyfriend. Are you familiar with Bill Cable?
No.
So you need to do a Google search. He used to date Cassandra, and he's sort of a hunky pinup model, and he did a little acting on the side. He died in a motorcycle accident, and he is the cop that pulls her over. He was dating her at the time.
Oh my God, he's a hunk.
And he is also he's the guy that Sharon Stone stabs at the beginning of Basic Instinct.
Man, he's This guy's lived a dream life.
Yeah.
Right?
So, yeah.
You knew you were doing 50 in a 25 mile per hour zone?
No, but if you have a few bars, I'll take it. I gotta get a new joke. This one's costing me a fortune.
I never got that joke as a kid either. If you hum a few bars, I'll fake it.
I use that joke all the time.
Now I get it, and I love it.
And grab a tool and start banging. I'm like, constantly on the song, ready to go.
But like real talk, when Elvira opens up her jockey box and all the tickets fall out, that's just me now. That's just when you turn into an adult that doesn't like to accept responsibility. You always have tickets in your jockey box.
Not her jockey box. Where are you from?
Jockey box? Haven't you ever heard that term?
Not a jockey box.
No.
It is a glove compartment.
That must be a very Montana term.
It is a glove compartment. Get with the program.
Yeah.
Yes, but I do agree with you. Parking tickets and moving violations falling out of your glove compartment.
Oh, yeah. That's just an adult life for me. I actually just paid my parking ticket on time. Thank you very much.
Good for you.
So it's not like $500 to register my Yaris at the end of the year.
She makes her way to Falwell and the Macabre Mobile, which... Do you believe that that's the real Macabre Mobile at the candy store in Hollywood and Highland?
I mean, I would assume that there might be multiple Macabre Mobiles. They say in the commentary that the guy that built that car builds all of the TV and movie cars that are famous.
Sure. So they've mentioned in the commentary that the Macabre Mobile in the movie barely ran. That when you would see it moving...
it's a movie prop car. You put that on the back of a trailer.
Yeah. They said that when you see it moving on screen, that it would literally move that's how far it would drive before it would just die again.
I forget what the biz term for a car like that is. It might be prop car. I don't know.
Car, something like that. But she makes it to Falwell. The car explodes. And she gets a room at the Cozy Cot.
She has her first run-in with Chastity Pariah. You don't even fit in that dress.
I love Edie McClurg.
She's great. Treasure.
I always call her Mrs. Poole from
the Hogan's
family.
Yes, Mrs. Poole. Yeah, she was Mrs. Poole on the Hogans.
Was she in Small Wonder?
And she was also, she was Harriet's mother on Small Wonder.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good call.
Yeah.
Not 10 years before this movie, she was playing a teenager in Carrie.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That always cracks me up when it's like a shock every time.
That is insane.
Yeah.
What year is Carrie?
76, I think.
Oh, for crying out loud. So let's just split the difference and say she was in her early 20s and not really a teenager. And in this movie, she's just in her
mid-30s. I mean, that's how women used to look back in the day, though, is that they just sort of looked old.
It was the Reagan era.
Yeah. I mean, you put that hair on me and I'll look like I'm in my mid-40s.
I would pay to see you in Chastity Pariah hair and that dress.
How has there not been a big drag queen that goes by Chastity Pariah? I'm sure there is.
I feel like it's too specific of a name. I don't know. If I saw a queen named Chastity Pariah, I'd be like, all right. You just stole that name.
That's a one note.
Yeah. But the look, though. You can do a lot with those soup cans on your head.
If I want your opinion, I'll beat it out of you.
That's a good line. If I want your opinion, I'll beat it out of you.
I want to say that to coworkers all the time at my job.
Coworkers?
Or coworkers or customers?
Customers.
Both.
Both. Fuck those coworkers. I love that. Well, what I did not know about this movie that we learned from the commentary was that the teens were kind of an addition that were requested by the studio.
That makes sense now. When I heard the commentary, I was like, oh, I get that. And would be better without.
But
them.
I love the teens though. I love the teen with like the Coke bottle glasses, the one from Dream Warriors.
Yeah,
I think he's so cute.
He just wants to see those gazungas. That's all he wants.
I always had a crush on the dumb one.
Which one?
The kind of jockey dumb one.
See, now that was okay. So let me tell you this. So I guess the whole idea is that the blonde one is supposed to be like the cute one. And like as a young kid, I was just like, oh yeah, he's blonde, like he's cute or whatever. But I was telling Scott the other day, the last time we watched it, that like jockey, like thick, beefy guy, I was just like watching it the other day going, I never really gave him a chance. And maybe I should have.
He looks goofy. He was like an approachable Bob.
Yes.
My like 10-year-old gay self.
Because he had like his hair was parted on the side and all that, but like he's wearing like this cool like kind of like a jockey, like a football T-shirt, the football T-shirt jersey, and like. He was definitely the hottest one of the team.
They mentioned on the commentary that Brad Pitt read for that role.
He read for the blonde guy.
Oh, the blonde guy, sure.
He read for the other one.
And they didn't cast him because Elvira kind of thought, like, why is she chasing Bob while she could just fuck this teenager who is so incredibly hot?
Well, I do think it's charming that in this town that is rejecting Elvira, she finds friends in the teens.
I love the first thing she does is ask the girl, she's like, where's the action?
Yeah.
Like, can I get a drink? What's happening in this town? Which is my favorite thing to do if I'm going to like a smaller town or something. You're just like asking anybody, hey, where can you get a drink? And like feeling like you're the most dangerous person in that small town. I love that.
I mean, I feel like that's Pete and I when we drive back to Montana and we hit like Pocatello.
Yeah, we're just like, what do you do for fun around here? The tidy bowl?
Yeah.
I think I can handle leak.
Patty's tidy bowl. I think I can handle it. Her delivery on some of those lines is so genius. Gets a little crazy on leak night. I think I can handle it. I love it.
I love also that it's like Elvira shows up on the Warner Brothers lot.
Oh, yes.
With bare minimum, trying to hide it. They're just sort of like
Warner Brothers lot that's just classic small town America.
What year was this movie?
This movie came out in 88, so it would have been shot around 87.
So this movie was released in 1988. This backlot is clearly Stars Hollow. With minimal, bare minimum updates, and it is exactly Stars Hollow.
I feel like it still hasn't changed.
No, it's Stars Hollow. It's Norbit's. It's a neighborhood from Norbit. It's the neighborhood from The Monster Squad, which was another movie that I was obsessed with as a kid.
The Growing Pains house is there.
What?
Well,
yeah.
Also,
I didn't even know
also,
that.
Colonial Street on the Universal lot is where her house is. Because Colonial Street is just where all of the very just photogenic Americana houses are, and that's where the Munsters house is.
Well, it's Wisteria Lane.
Where Wisteria Lane is, but the house is on Universal though.
Yes,
that's on Colonial Street.
When I went out there for work one time, we took the Warner Brothers lot tour, and the guide just kept telling everybody that it was like Gilmore Girls and Pretty Little Liars. It was like, if you're a fan of Pretty Little Liars, every time you turned a corner, it was like this, and we were like, everyone was like, we don't know that show. Stop.
Woo, yeah.
I kept saying
Pretty Little Liars. Anybody?
You're all just like, look at all of us. Look at the.
You're like, when do we get to Central Perk?
But I remember it being like, this is where Elvira, that's the church from Elvira. This is that from, I was just started taking over the tour and be like, well, and this scene in Elvira, that's where she would have been burned.
Give me that microphone. That is where the Macadmobile blew up in her, the hood of her car flew across the street.
When they had the church picnic, that's at the same pond where they did Rainbow Connection.
What?
It's like, they always film everything.
I love that.
When Pee-wee goes across the swamp on his bike.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, get right out of town. See, I didn't even know that. I love that.
When I used to review movies, the Warner lot was always the lot that I always wanted to get screenings to.
Yeah.
But I never got them because Warner they didn't do press screenings a lot on the lot. And when they did give me one, it was for that bullshit King Arthur movie with Charlie Hunnam. And I was so excited to walk on the lot because when you go to that movie lot, it is straight up Pee-wee's Big Adventure. You expect to see showgirls like crossing the street.
Gladiators.
And like them doing like a Dee Snider video. But it is like the most Hollywood movie lot I've ever been on in my life. Wow. So I was glad to sit through a bullshit movie just to go on that lot.
Yeah, no, but watching it, you're just like, they're just sort of like, okay, and plop Elvira here and let her react. Plop her here, let her react.
Oh,
just genius.
Yeah, for sure. I love that everybody has their own kind of little memories of the lot and what was shot there. Because for me, a lot of that town square is Monster Squad.
And it's pretty much a copy of the lot from Universal, too.
It's almost exactly Courthouse Square from Universal. Mm-hmm. But there's a church in it.
Yeah. And Courthouse Square and Universal has evolved a lot through the years.
Oh, yeah. It looks totally different.
It looks totally different now.
Yeah. So in Falwell, she gets to go to the reading of her Great Aunt Morgana's will.
With Auntie M and Uncle
Remus.
Uncle Remus. There's no place like home.
10 grand just for the help.
Why you crying? You made out like a bandit. I love how she says that.
She's such an asshole at this will reading, but she doesn't know Aunt Morgana.
Yeah.
So it's not like she doesn't have a reason to be sad. But let me say this. Her ultimate goal is 50 grand. And she gets a house, even in the 80s, even in Falwell, Massachusetts. Yeah, just flip the house.
Yeah. I mean, that looks like some pretty good property value.
She doesn't even have to flip it. She can sell it as is. And the super queenie executor guy was just told her she could get 70,000. 70 grand. Oh, and she also inherits her aunt's dog. Algonquin.
In the book.
Oh, in the book.
I guess that Algonquin in the original script was supposed to be a Rottweiler.
He is in one scene.
Yeah, but I think it was supposed to be a Rottweiler for the whole movie.
The whole time?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I also learned that he's the dog from Ruthless People.
What?
Which, that's the same dog that was the one that tortured Danny DeVito.
I love Ruthless People.
I've never seen Ruthless People, but I just have a memory of the video box.
I don't know if like a 9-year-old should have been seeing Ruthless People. I don't know.
I mean, it was the 80s.
Yeah, I got to see everything
right?
like that. They never told me no for anything.
Yeah, my dad took us to everything in the theater. Like we saw everything in the theater, and if we didn't see it in the theater, we rented it. So
yeah.
So I don't know if
they did not. Yeah.
But and also I feel like too movies in the 80s. I don't know. It wasn't like we were watching like Faces of Death or anything. It was like movies were a little bit more lighthearted.
Yeah, and I feel like you don't get the sex jokes as a kid, but you just know it's funny. You're like, oh, I'll get it one day.
Yeah, and it wasn't like scarred or like I wasn't just like scandalized. It was just like, oh, if I don't get it, I don't get it, and if I do get it, like, oh well. So I secretly loved Ruthless People, but okay. So we're in Falwell, Massachusetts. She inherits his house and this book that she just thinks is a cookbook, and this is where we meet Uncle Vinny, which they really wanted Vincent Price for.
Makes total sense.
Which makes total sense.
Yeah.
But they couldn't afford him or
right. So we're stuck with like thespian actor, whoever that guy is. That's like,
I think he's really good.
So
he does take it very seriously, but I don't know. I think he's good in it. He's got like the one crazy he's got like a glass eye, which is like kind of good for the character.
That's pretty cool.
Because he's got like, but this is where it's like, okay, Uncle Vinny is clearly like a malicious, like malevolent character. He's got his 2 henchmen, and one of them is Kanicki from Grease.
Oh, Jeff Conaway. You know what's crazy? That Jeff Conaway was probably fully like my age
at the time of making
this movie. And he just looks terrible.
He looks like hell in this movie.
That's drugs, man.
I mean, he still looks good because he's Jeff Conaway and he's like super handsome, but he does look a little rough in this movie.
Yeah, he's it's a troubled tale at that point.
Yeah, for sure.
I always feel so bad for him when he had to go make Grease because he played Danny on stage. And he sort of had to play second fiddle to John Travolta, the role that he originated.
Yeah. I mean, at least he got to be in it.
This is true.
Some people didn't even get that. So Uncle Vinny, it's like, is it clear right off the bat that he's like a crazy, like evil warlock?
I think so.
Wizard. Yeah, I think they make it clear that he's just like evil. And as soon as Elvira starts spending nights in the house, she starts having crazy dreams about Aunt Morgana, and there is that awesome portrait of Morgana that's Cassandra.
Mm-hmm. Because she's Morgana in the flashbacks too.
Yes.
Right. I love that during that dream sequence, she like wakes up and her hair is like perfectly spread out.
Yes.
She looks like Barbara Steele. And then she wakes up from the real dream and like her hair's in the towel, like toilet paper wrap.
Yeah.
And
she's wearing the Elvis shirt.
I love that gag.
I love that gag too. I thought that was super funny. Her hair wrapped in toilet paper. First of all, her hair's wrapped in toilet paper. She's in the crazy Elvis iron-on Elvis t-shirt with no sleeves.
Right.
But she still has a full face of makeup. This also reminded me of that scene in Big Business when Lily Tomlin is just kind of like in the hotel room, like kind of like winding down, and she's wearing like she's wearing like a long like marabou like lined dressing gown, like a robe, and she's wearing a Tina Turner like she's wearing a Tina Turner concert t-shirt.
Yes.
And I love the idea of just like these glamorous women, just like when they wind down, they're just like, I'm just going to put on this t-shirt that I bought like at a show, like in Vegas or something.
And also, Cassandra went on a date with Elvis.
Right.
When she was a showgirl.
That sentence is so loaded.
Yeah.
She went on a date with Elvis when she was a showgirl.
And Elvis told her, and she said this on the own little, like, Where Are They Now?
Uh-huh.
Elvis told her, you need to get out of this town.
This town being Vegas?
You can't work here forever. You need to go and do something else. And she said if it probably weren't for Elvis Presley telling her that, she probably would have stayed in Vegas.
And just been an old grizzled
And
showgirl.
we wouldn't have the Elvira movie. So you could just say that Elvis is responsible for Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
All right, so now she's got to sell the house because the house is, like we said, got appraised for about $70,000.
She invites over the teens when they're trying to spy on her and get a peek at those gazungas. She's just like, well, you should just come over tomorrow and help me fix up the house.
She's incredible. And what I wouldn't do for just one peek at those gazelles are real.
I love that they refer to her gazungas like
that kid's so cute
several times. Ira,
yeah,
I love Ira.
Ira, you listeners, you might remember Ira from Dream Warriors.
Yes, he was in Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Mm-hmm.
What's my dreams?
Movie? I can't remember.
He says, "In my dreams,
I'm kind of surprised that you can't finish that.
That I can't quote Dream Warriors.
Have you seen Dream Warriors?
Oh yes.
What's the quote from the kid from this movie?
I'm the Dream Master. Is he the Dream Master?
No, he's not the Dream Master. He's playing like a fake Dungeons and Dragons game with them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has the cape on and everything.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember the line. We'll figure it out.
Taryn's line about I'm beautiful and bad.
And bad.
I love her. She's really.
We have to do Dream Warriors.
Yeah. So okay. So the teens come over to paint the house because it's fallen into disrepair. It looks like trash, and she's got to get market value if she's going to get this money to the flamingo. Because if not, the flamingo is going to break her thumbs.
Mr. Flamingo. Mr. Flamingo.
Yeah.
It's gonna come break your
thumbs.
Break your thumbs and collect.
It's like a bad Tennessee Williams movie now.
So the funny thing is, on the commentary, in the montage scene when they're painting the house, is to shout that song "Shout."
Yeah,
and Cassandra's just like, "F this song. I hate it. It's the worst choice. Why did they choose this?" The entire length of the scene, she's just like, her and John Paragon are both just like
rolling their eyes.
Why? And I never thought about
that
it.
was like in the 80s, like those 60s songs, like the one in the trailer, that There She Was, and like all those like 60s frat rock songs had like a big moment in the 80s. I think it was like Bruce Willis that made it happen.
Sure, I could see that.
Bruno
is to blame. I love her little onesie pants, which is a version of the dress that she wears.
Sides.
Yep.
Yeah, it's got the cutouts all like up the.
Grab a tool and start banging.
And Robin gets in trouble from from her grandmother, young lady. I love we have not even mentioned the morality club.
Yeah.
In Falwell, there's a whole like morality council that like runs this town with an iron fist, and they're ready to like get this pinko commie heavy metal. Elvira.
It kind of reminds me of the Birdcage. What does Gene Hackman is in charge of the morality?
Yeah, it's like a morality club kind of a thing.
Like commission?
Yeah. Well, the morality club is...
All the morality club people look like they're like the Where's the Beef ladies.
Mm-hmm. The Where's the Beef lady.
It's like only in the 80s did like old people look like that.
You're right, though. In the 80s, old women, like, all just looked... It was a very kind of, like, almost like a Thelma Harper aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
you were either like Thelma or Iola, which Iola on Mama's Family was fully, like, 35. Like, she wasn't even that old.
Yeah, but I feel like Iola may not have been intended to be Mama's age. She was just friends with Mama.
She's Vitten's age. Could you see that flashback?
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, the flashback with what's her name on it. I mean, I know my Mama's Family.
You do.
So it's like like Iola was fully like 35, but looked like an old lady.
Yeah, it was the 80s. Oh man, we've got to do. I mean, we've got to do a Mama's Family themed episode so we can talk about Bubba.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're just gonna have to do a very just a gay TV month.
Yeah. Because Bubba wore, like, I don't know what cut of jeans Bubba was wearing. Those were not 501s. Those were tailored. Those were, like, hand...
You could see those were, like, Jason Stackhouse jeans.
They were, like, Princess Taylor.
Yeah.
Like, those jeans. Because they are, snug as a bug.
Those were not off the rack. They were...
They couldn't keep a titmouse warm in a drizzle.
In a drizzle. I think she was wearing plenty. Shut up, Leslie. A titmouse warm. Oh, Bubba. And Bubba also wore suspenders and over a sweater vest.
Yeah. A sweater vest and a T-shirt.
And like a V-neck T-shirt.
Yep.
And I love... Oh, man. Oh,
Bubba. He was dressed like he was like an action figure in a Happy Meal.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was...
Like a Punky Brewster.
Yeah, like the Burger King Kids Club. Yeah.
Oh, man. Punky Brewster.
So Elvira still doesn't know or have access to her, like, witchy powers.
She's having dreams that's sort of premonitions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of her powers, but she doesn't fully realize them yet.
She's having dreams of her Aunt Morgana. She's talking to Bob about Aunt Morgana.
Bob, we haven't talked about Bob
We
yet.
have not even talked about Bob.
So I love that Bob is Elvira's type, this all-American, just beefcake.
With a huge ass.
With a huge ass.
Huge ass. Like, to rival Patty's bosom.
Yeah.
Man, when Bob is talking to Elvira outside of the Tidy Bowl, just that actor's delivery of those lines just kills me.
His?
Yes. It's just so flat, but kind of charming at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, like I kind of always thought that he was just really bad.
I mean, I think that's why it's charming, though, is that you just get this very, like, I admire your aunt because she just had a spunk. We have a clip. We have a clip of his dialogue.
I do. Do you want to hear a little bit of Bob?
Right down the street, at the Cozy Cot.
Oh. So what brought you to Falwell?
My car. No, really, I'm here for the reading of my great aunt Morgana's will.
Morgana Talbot? She's your aunt?
Yeah, that came as a surprise to me, too.
I never really knew her, but I sure admired her spunk. She never caved in the way everybody else in this town has. Well, I don't want to bore you with local politics.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Bore me.
Okay, we've got this town council that lives in mortal fear that somewhere, somehow, somebody in Falwell is having a good time.
Oh, bunch of real preservatives, huh?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like one step above, like, Skinamax acting.
Yeah.
Some, like, Red Shoe Diaries
poor
territory.
Bob.
But that's why we love it, though.
That's true. I mean, it just adds to the charm.
Here to look at him, I think of.
Yeah, but Bob was just eye candy.
Yeah.
He's so, like, barrel-chested, though. Like, his body type is just like, who has a, like, what is that body type? I don't even...
I mean, it's a body type that you definitely don't see in movies now.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just that 80s, like, steroid action movie person, like, stunt double for Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, for sure. It's a very, like, professional wrestling, but, like, in the 80s. Like, super barrel-chested, tiny little waist, and a fat ass. So, we have to get to Elvira's midnight movie performance.
Because we get that scene outside of the movie theater.
The how's your head scene.
How's your head scene? You put an extra E in matinee. I always want to say that whenever I see matinee spelled out anywhere. I always want to say that. So yeah, so she's going to do something. So she's going to show a midnight movie for all the kids. And I feel like kind of in the 80s, like watching a bad movie with a group would have kind of been something a little different that you wouldn't have really seen a lot. Would you agree?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was for Mystery Science Theater.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I guess you had Rocky Horror, but, you know.
That was still super fringe, so, yeah.
But what Elvira's doing is super fringe.
This feels like Elvira brings drag to the small town.
Yes.
She basically a drag show in a movie.
Yeah. It just so happens.
Rocks their world.
It just so happens that I have some of the worst movies ever made in the trunk of my car. I love that line.
Yeah.
I married Satan. I married Satan too.
I married Satan too.
But Bob can't play anything PG, right?
It's not G-rated.
Bob has to play only G-rated movies.
I mean, G-rated's okay.
As long as there's plenty of sex and violence.
Sex and violence.
Well, okay. So the joke is that Bob's Movie Theater is playing a film on how to duck call?
Yeah.
Is that the idea?
How to hunt duck?
I didn't know if it was how to hunt ducks or how to call ducks, but there was how to and then duck, and then she had the E from matinee, and she fell, and so the E looked like an F.
How to fuck.
And it looked like she was putting up how to fuck. And Chastity Pariah
nearly faints when she walks by.
She needs her vapors.
She just...
That is like the longest 3-minute joke.
It was a whole lot of setup. It was a whole lot of setup.
I mean, it was one of those things that they had the punchline, which was how to fuck, and they had to work backwards of how are you going to set it up. And I guess how to duck call was what they landed on for the marquee.
I'm buying it. Who's paying to go to Bob's movie theater to watch this film on how to duck call? Maybe Bob's afternoon matinees of like nature films, maybe they were free.
Sure.
Public service. In this town that only showed G-rated movies. Fucking Bob.
Almost drag.
So this is where she decides to do... So since Bob can't show the movies because of the Morality Club, they're going to do a midnight showing. It's going to be a secret. We're going to get all the kids to go. You know, this whole underground thing. And then I'm showing Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, which I have not actually seen.
I've never seen it. Have you?
Yeah. It's bad. I mean, like, you need to help you get through it.
Yeah. Isn't like Clooney in that?
I don't think so, because it's super early 80s.
Oh,
like maybe
okay.
80s.
I think he might be in like a weird sequel.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
Yeah, the remakes.
Yeah, because I think there's like some weird Hollywood lore that like George Clooney was in like one of the worst movies ever made, but I don't think it's the one she showed. I think it's like a weird like remake.
Yeah, I mean,
sequel.
I only saw it because of like this movie. I was like, oh, I want to see this horrible movie.
Yeah,
and that's really bad.
We didn't even talk about the movie at the very first shots of this movie.
So we didn't realize who was in the movie until we bought this on a 4K transfer of the Blu-ray. It is the guy from Gremlins.
What's the title of it?
It Conquers the World.
It Conquers the World, yeah.
Roger Corman movie.
Yeah, and it's got what's his name from all the
Joe Dante's guy.
Joe Dante movies, Dick.
Oh yeah, the Dick Miller.
Dick Miller.
Dick Miller, yep.
Yeah. And it also has is it Peter Graves from Mission Impossible?
Yes.
And the airplane movies. He's like one of the main characters. But for some reason in the clips that they show at the beginning of Mistress of the Dark, they do some dubbing of the voices because I guess the audio quality was not that great. But that monster. As a kid, because of the voiceover and the dubbing that they did, I thought that they shot that new
for the movie.
This.
Sure.
Because it looked so bad. I was like, no, this looks like they're making a fake bad 50s movie. But it really was a bad 50s.
Now, you said that was Peter Graves?
Yeah, isn't it Peter Graves from Mission Impossible?
Is he the one that did the Spread and Playgirl?
No, that's Peter Lupus.
Oh, okay.
Also from Mission Impossible, but he did do Playgirl. That's somebody else.
I'll go with that.
Yes, he was.
Oh yes, Google it.
He was like the muscle in the old Mission Impossible TV show.
Who's the Ving Rhames?
He was a Ving Rhames character. So he was like the big beefy guy, and he was like the muscle of like the crew. And he did Playgirl in the early 70s, full dick. Yeah, and it was like scandal because he was like a legitimate TV actor.
Right.
Although he came from bodybuilding. So for him, he was just like, whatever, I'll do this
old hat.
Pictorial. Yeah, old hat. But for like Hollywood, it was just like, there's Peter Lupus's dick. So this whole like midnight movie event at Bob's Theater, I feel like I would have like killed. If I was a kid in Falwell, I would have like murdered like my dog.
So I've only been to one thing like this in my small town, and it was a midnight showing around Halloween. But it was sort of like this.
Yeah,
like it just felt very cool and adult and just like alternative. And I remember tagging along with my sister. I was probably about like 12 or 13.
And what was it?
It was Urban Legend.
A midnight showing of Urban Legend?
I mean, this is a small town repeat where that did not do anything cool like that.
Yeah.
So I guess sure, Rebecca Gayhart's classic urban legend counts as a midnight screening.
Her heel turn is legendary.
But yeah, so I feel like so I can sort of get like this is cool.
The glamour.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sneak out with some white pumps. To do that.
Yep.
With a little frilly sock.
Yep.
When she has like slutty Sandra Dee look.
Robin's little pumps straight out of the shoebox with the tissue paper and everything. Oh. And her like ratted out hair, like, oh my God. Her new look was such a scandal.
And Elvira's gonna do like a show at the end of it.
Yeah.
The show
she's gonna totally rip off.
I mean, I love that. Okay, again, I feel like I was a little too young for Flashdance, so I kind of missed it. So I didn't really get that reference, but I just thought it was funny. But the way that she says, like, and this bit I ripped off, I mean, was inspired by
Flashdance.
Yeah, I don't think I saw Flashdance either, but like I just knew it from like MTV and like everyone parodied that.
It was like, such a big part of pop
like
culture.
the Maniac video.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's some choreography in this little bit where there's like flips and dips and all this stuff, and
it gets me every time.
There's that one shot of her like upside down on her head, and it's her face. What?
Smiles as she's like,
and the smile. How did they? First of all, that's
the genius of her to know that like I can't do this stunt, but I'm gonna like do it in such a fake, obvious way and smile during it. That is gonna make it great.
Yeah, we're gonna get that for the Instagram because that shit is.
We'll post a picture of it.
It's too good.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. But, you know, she got inspired by Flashdance. The character pulls a rope and a bucket of water falls on her. But Elvira was going to have gold glitter, which I don't know if she thought that through either.
I mean, that also sounds like a mess.
That sounds like a huge mess. Like gold, she would be in that bathtub just the same as she was with all the like oil or tar or whatever it was. A bucket of gold glitter on your face?
Yeah.
No. You would need I don't even know what you would need to get that off you. But
she didn't think it.
No. But Patty intercepted the bucket of gold glitter and straight up tars and feathers Elvira.
Yeah.
That's some like
you know what else we've seen Patty in is in Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice, yeah. She's at the dinner party.
Yes, indeed.
And that golden outfit that is, like, amazing.
Her gold lame dress in Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
So good.
You get that good shot of her butt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even know I could do the Calypso.
So Patty is definitely like the anti-Elvira. It's everything that Elvira stands against.
Yes.
Is embodied in Patty.
Yes. Patty has a very like dated aesthetic. She wears she wears pink clam diggers and like a blouse that you could buy at like Rite Aid, and like and she has this like blonde poodle hair, and
she looks like she came from Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love the shot of Patty's pumps behind the
behind
the curtain.
Well, not just her pumps. It goes up to
like the boobs.
To the boobs.
Yeah.
You're gonna put somebody's eye out with those things. What's that perfume? Catch of the day. Patty, oh man. Patty doesn't even have a redemption arc in this movie, by the way.
Doesn't she kind of become friendly with Elvira at the end?
Does she?
I don't remember.
At the very, very end?
Like in the last scene.
She gives a half-assed apology.
Yeah.
And Elvira gets a big dig into her about her bust size. She's like, you're the bigger person. She's like, yeah, a lot bigger.
Still funny. A lot bigger. Still funny. Oh, man. So Patty straight up tars and feathers Elvira at the midnight show in front of all the teens. And that's jacked up. And so our timeline for this whole evening, we've got like charts with like red yarn,
and it's a midnight show.
We've got like a whole whiteboard with like red yarn and like photographs and like all this stuff because it's a midnight show. They watch all of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Let's say it's a brief 90 minutes, 80 minutes,
a brisk 88-minute movie. And then then there's like a 15-minute intermission. Then she does her Flashdance ripoff, gets tarred and feathered, goes all the way home, is in the bathtub with the turpentine, cleaning off all the oil, then goes downstairs, kicks out, Robin and the fake Brad Pitt, and then she makes Bob a whole ass casserole.
They also watch TV until TV turns off.
Until TV turns off.
I feel like TV used to turn off at what, like?
TV used to turn off at 2.
2? Yeah.
2. So, yeah. It doesn't add up.
No, it does not add up. This timeline is muddled at best. But
I always think that I'm like, this is an all-night affair.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's just say it's 2 a.m., but she's just like, sure, I'll make you a whole ass casserole.
I mean, she has to cook for her man.
At 2 o'clock in the morning.
I find that scene really charming when she's cooking for him. She's just like thrown all together, and then she gets the cheese whiz and on the chips. She gets it all together. I'm like, that's so cute. She just wants to lay on this man.
The way she rolls up the bag of chips and sits on it and just like crumples it onto the top. Oh my God. It's genius. Yeah. And then here's me watching the movie now going, oh, look at that. Kettle Chips hasn't really changed their logo in like 30 years.
That same thing.
It's that same font on that Kettle Chips bag. Who knew? I didn't even think that brand was that old.
Legacy brand.
Well, let me just tell you this. I think that Miss Vicky's is selling me the same Lay's kettle jalapeno chips. I think it's the same thing. Miss Vicky can go jump in the lake because I think that's the same chips as Lay's kettle brand. Tell me I'm wrong, Miss Vicky. I'm going to tag Miss Vicky on our Instagram because I would like a case of Miss Vicky's jalapeno chips to taste test that they're not actually just Lay's kettle brand.
Right, it's 2020. You can't get away with that anymore.
No, they can't be selling us two different chips with the same brand name. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. I know what's up with those kettle chips. But so she doesn't do the recipe correct to the book, and she creates this like casserole monster.
This little casserole monster that tries to bite her boob.
Right.
I love the casserole monster. I thought the casserole monster as a kid was so disgusting.
Oh, I mean, it's so gross.
It is pretty disgusting.
Yeah, it's like a snotty turd.
Yeah, and then they would like put it in the garbage disposal and like all that. It's awful. I hate the casserole monster. But
what'd she say? Did she call it cock-a-doodoo or something?
Yeah, cock-a-doodie. I do use that one a lot, cock-a-doodie. But the morality club is going to have a potluck, and so she decides to do the casserole again for the morality club potluck. but when she substitutes the Filengra with hamburger helper.
Yeah.
She doesn't quite get the casserole monster, but she gets like a love potion. And that scene is also almost as disgusting as the casserole monster.
I mean, all of those old people are really getting into it.
That hot dog and taco joke is the nastiest joke of any movie ever.
I agree. I feel like as a kid, that was the one thing that as a kid I was just like, oh.
Cross the line.
Oh, that. Yeah. Although, under the right circumstances, if I was hungry enough, a cooked hot dog in a plain taco shell. I'm not too good for it.
Drinking all the way until TV goes off, then I might.
Yeah, exactly. Generic beer. Did you notice that they're drinking generic
beer? But all the teens have soda.
Yes, they had to sneak back into their house. I don't know how they snuck back into their houses because they all like jumped out their second story windows.
I mean, that's when you have to climb up your sheet,
your bed sheet rope ladder,
that you see in everything.
Yeah.
That I don't know if that can really hold your weight.
Maybe we'll do a test for the Instagram. We'll do a TikTok bed sheet rope ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Teach these kids a thing or two. The morality club now is just like over it. They're ready to like kick Elvira out on the horse she rode in on because she's clearly made, a mockery of them with this like sex potion. And Uncle Vinny's just like, don't worry about it. I got this. How do they eventually come to the whole like witchcraft?
Yeah, they're like, oh, she put a spell on us.
Yeah, I think it's the love potion that Uncle Vinny's just like, oh, there's an old rule that like we can get her on, and it's witchcraft. And that's when they're just like, all right, Elvira, we're gonna straight up murder you,
like a holdover from the Puritan days.
Yeah. Because I mean, I'm assuming we're to understand that Falwell is adjacent to Salem.
Yes.
Massachusetts.
Yeah, Massachusetts.
Yeah. Which neither of us have ever been to Salem, Massachusetts. Have you sojourned to Salem?
Yeah. I went there last year for a summer trip. And
okay, tell us about this.
It's on my list. Is it worth going?
Yeah, I mean, like wrap it up into some other things on the East Coast. It's a small little town. I mean, like there's like we did it in an afternoon.
Sure.
But I mean, we didn't go like during Halloween, but it's a cute little town that looks like that. We went to like the Nathaniel Hawthorne house of Seven Gables, and there's like old witch tours, and there's like a wax museum that I didn't get to go to, but it's apparently like super cheesy. That's like has like reenactments of the witch trials, but with like animatronic robots.
Oh. That sounds amazing. I know that there's a recreation of the hall where they would do the trials at. Because I don't think any of those buildings are still standing.
There's apparently one building that's still standing of like one of the judges or something like that. So we went to that house, and it's neat.
Yeah,
I definitely go. It's a little party town, and like it's full of like rockabilly goth kids, like there to party for Halloween.
Oh, so, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna like go and see all the storefronts and be like, I want the T-shirts.
Yeah. I was gonna say, are there like magnets, like refrigerator magnets aplenty? Okay.
It feels like the '90s, like just never stops. You can go in and get your like Baby Jane postcards and like like just all the things from the '90s are good.
Sure. It's very like a Penny Lane. Oh man. Well, they decide to straight up arrest Elvira for wicked witchery. They put her in the jail cell.
And this is when they get like their women's prison movie moment with her like clanking the cup like on the jail bars.
Yeah, I love that. Bob comes to visit her. She feels like she needs the book, she needs the dog, she needs the teens, all this stuff.
Because this is when it's all like finally aligning.
Yeah, like everything's coming together.
It's all coming together.
Yeah, we've got this final showdown with. Well, first of all, we get the like burning at the stake scene, which is kind of amazing because like Chastity's there, like all the townsfolk are there, and like everybody in this town is fully just like, yes, we are going to straight up
murder this woman,
and burn her in front of everybody.
You gotta light it in multiple places.
You're doing it.
You're doing it wrong.
Fucking Patty.
I remember that cracking me up so much as a kid. Just her being like, "You're doing it all wrong. Oh, you got to change your heart."
No, yeah, she says, "This is wrong." So you think she has to change her heart, and then she's like, "You gotta light it multiple places." Oh, fucking Patty. She's really good. She's really good in that. And there's like Girl Scouts that are like roasting marshmallows, like all this nonsense. All this nonsense. And Elvira kind of has like a moment with Morgana, right? With like the ring and like all this.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Like it's like who cares?
I mean, I feel like the whole backstory and ring is just the MacGuffin of this movie.
Yes.
It's just like, kind of who cares? It's about Elvira reacting to all of her surroundings. But she finally realizes that she is like the Harry Potter chosen one with this ring.
Yeah. And she like ultimately uses the ring to like, there's like a lightning bolt and it starts to rain. Right? Doesn't it just start to rain?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's just like, puts out her fire or whatever. Which, okay, and this is the point where I'm just like, I really would have loved to have explored more, which like I think the sitcom was going for, of like Elvira's like witchiness.
Right.
And that would have just been kind of fun. But, this is what we got, and it's fun. And this is where Elvira gets to have like this. She has like a chase with Uncle Vinny, and like she turns into like Rambo Elvira.
I love it.
I love Rambo Elvira scenes.
So good,
like breaking like chain link fences with
their boobies,
with their
busting out.
I love that in one of the teaser trailers. It's the very last shot of the trailer. It's Elvira busting out of the gate, and it says "busting out September 30th." That's some genius copywriting right there.
That trailer really is a piece of art.
Like,
because we played I think that we played the internet. I don't know, like what trailer we played, but there's another one that's a little more visual. That they sort of cut visual gags in the trailer.
Yeah.
And it ends on that.
Uncle Vinny starts to turn very like demonic.
They give him like a crazy face prosthetic.
Yeah, they give him like a crazy demonic face prosthetic, which I love. He's like shooting like crazy like magic beams at her. Very Harry Potter. But the whole idea is that he's trying to get this book, which is Morgana's like spells, right? Which she doesn't even know is like the super important like spell book, but the dog does, and the dog has it hidden in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So they make their way back to the house, and like Uncle Vinny's like shooting like fireballs all over the place. The house burns down, and
but also single white females with the shoe.
Yeah.
Yes. She's straight up single white females. Uncle
That's
Vinny.
so funny. I remember watching this and I was just like, were we reviewing a movie for this podcast with a shoe in the face? I can't remember. I don't know if that actually happened. Yeah, we just did single white female, and that's what it was from.
Yeah.
So we have fully done 2 movies with a high heel,
a stiletto to the
as
eyeball.
a weapon.
Yeah.
It's a very gay trope.
Yeah, Hedra straight up kills Steven Weber after she blows him with her stiletto.
What's her name?
Hedra.
I mean, that is...
Shout out to our single white female episode with Jose.
Council in Fallswell.
Hedra is like the... Oh, my God.
That name.
That name. I can't even deal with it. Hedra.
Single White Female is wild. I would advise you during all of this to go back and revisit Single White Female.
It's wild. Steven Weber is super cute in it, and you see his buns.
Oh.
You see his buns in several shots, especially when he and this was the first time I'd ever seen in a legitimate movie people doing it sitting in a chair in Single White Female, and I was just like, "That's a thing."
That's
a thing? You can do it in a chair? Okay. So Elvira Single White Female's Uncle Vinny in the face. And he fully goes, "That hurts." I always love that line because he's like a villain and he's like a demon and he's just like, ow. Damn it. Ow.
So do you think that they're almost setting up Elvira as like a Glinda Good Witch of the North? That she's a witch, but she's a good witch, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if they were able to explore this movie Elvira into like sequels, that she would kind of continue on her like witchy training, but yeah, just not be like malevolent about it and just be like a little bit more of like a force for good and just like, you know, cool fun stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know what she would use it for in the future. Like
yeah, I mean she does it to help the Girl Scout troops when it's needed.
There you go. Yeah. She would conjure up sales of like Girl Scout cookies.
Mm-hmm.
When they couldn't sell.
She would help them out in the wilderness if they get lost.
Yes. She could like break down like trees to make like land bridges and things for her wilderness troop. Okay, but the whole idea of this movie is that she still needs 50 grand. She still needs this 50 grand. Did she just end up selling the house? What happens at the end?
I don't know but what's crazy about the story of the movie is that this is where the studio just wanted to end the movie, was them on her stoop with the townspeople saying like, "Oh well, we've like changed our mind about you. You should just live here.
We love you now."
And that's where they wanted it to end.
Yeah.
But I feel like you just need, and Cassandra said that you just need the flamingo scene.
The whole movie, she's just like, the flamingo. She's got to get this 50 G's. Like she's got to make it to Vegas.
And I like the message that you can have it both. You can go to the flamingo and have your one woman show.
Yeah.
And you can still get the guy. And you can still have everything.
Yeah.
That it doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both.
Is she with Bob?
Bob's backstage.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah, he's like in the wings.
Yeah.
She left him. Well, you were a fun fuck while I was in Falwell, but I mean, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I gotta get to Vegas.
You'd never make it in Vegas.
That's what happens in my mind.
Yeah, that's what happens in the real world.
I feel like watching this movie now, the one scene that I'm kind of like shocked at is where she's feeling the snake and she thinks it's Bob.
Oh, Bob.
That's the one scene that I'm just like, oh, man. Oh, girl.
Bob.
I mean, like, got two hands around it, and, you know, I'm like, good for Bob.
Yeah, I don't know if either of you have ever held a snake in your hands, but they're all muscle.
Yeah.
They feel crazy.
It's a
when
very
you're
mighty
holding
girth
it.
right
That
there.
is, yeah.
I mean, like I said, salute to Bob.
Good on you, Bob. Oh, my God. Well, she finally does, in fact, make it to Vegas. And we've seen a truncated version.
We have.
Of this performance. I have to say.
The backup dancer.
Oh, my God.
Well, the backup dancers are straight up something that you would see at Knott's, too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There's, like, muscle guys. There's, like, break dancers.
Do you remember us being at the Elvira show and trying to find some of the dancers on Scruff?
Yes.
Or Grindr?
Yes.
Just be like, okay, open up your app. They have to be there. And we did find one.
We found one. Yes. Okay. But for me, as like, I'm like 12. I've got this movie on VHS. I've watched it a million times. I'm obsessed with it. And I don't know that I'm weird because I am lip syncing this entire song in my room by myself, learning the rap. And I just think, what? I love Elvira. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
But it's like, are my like straight cohorts trying to learn like this Elvira rap?
The boys in my neighborhood did not care about that.
No.
I go Elvira by myself.
Yeah. But it's like, I don't know. It's crazy to think that, like, as a little kid, and I just did not think that anybody else gave two shits about this movie. And I just thought, like, I'm going to learn this rap. I'm going to, like...
You're going to learn, like, the little booby...
I'm going to figure out how to do
dance.
my boob castle.
This is the scene.
You know, showgirl, like, dance.
Yeah.
But to me, I don't know, like, and again, I'm 12, I'm 11, I'm 12, and I'm not thinking like, oh, this is like super like homosexualism. I just thought that I liked this movie and I liked Elvira. I mean, now clearly looking back, it's like, all right, that's some faggoty shit right there.
Yeah.
She presents as like for boys to enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. But it's interesting.
You can hide behind that a little bit.
Yeah. It's interesting though because I really did think that like no other kids or no other people are watching this movie as much as I did, and like later on as you grow up and you like kind of understand like, oh no, like I was not the only person watching this movie multiple times in a row. Like, lots of people loved this movie.
And Cassandra says that. She gets that all the time. Kind of gay men coming up to her saying, like, this movie really meant a lot to me when I was growing up. That I, like, looked up to this woman that gave zero fucks of what people thought of her. And was just, like, powerful and strong. And just owned her sexuality.
Yeah.
And she jive talks. She's like,
that's my.
When she like talks to the. She's always doing. When they open that pot, they're gonna need all the love. And
that's my thing.
Like, what's she saying to the makeup girl?
Get a girlfriend. I love the makeup girl.
That's my thing about this movie. It's like aside from like this, like. Her like the feminism and her like sexuality and all that, she was just a smartass. So to me, that was what I took.
Yeah.
To me, I took she had an answer for everybody. Even when Patty was coming at her, even when Chastity Pariah was coming at her, she had something to say. And it was funny and it was quick. And whether or not they you know, whatever the reaction to it was, at least it was smart and funny, and she was able to just be like, hey, you know what? I never, you're never gonna with them soup cans on your head, you know, and like that kind of stuff to me, it was like, that's what taught me to like always have something to say if somebody ever said something to me. You know, if somebody ever stepped to me, it's like, okay, at least if you're smart and you're quick and you got something, then at least you can stun them enough so that you can like get the hell out of there.
Yeah, I mean, gay people have to know how to read.
Yeah, and that's what I took from this. That's for me. That's like the whole like the gay identity of Elvira and all of that. It's just like the quickness and being able to read somebody at a moment's notice.
My take on Mistress of the Dark is that I feel like it's something that I've always bonded with you.
Yeah,
I feel like I always knew of Elvira.
Yeah.
But then when we started going out, it was something that we immediately bonded with.
Yeah. And you loved it.
And I feel like you introduced me to it, but I feel like I always knew that she was there.
Yeah.
But you just got me to embrace it more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I feel like it's always been a hallmark of our relationship.
Yes. Indeed.
We have a whole like Elvira shrine.
We do.
We have her pop figure. We have her signed DVD. We have a DVD with this autograph by her.
Yeah. And we've got a standee of her jumping out of a cake.
Yeah. That's just in our like walkway. It was a wedding present.
Okay.
Darcy Miller from our Interview with the Vampire episode gave us that.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. It's life size. She's in a big giant birthday cake. So, Ben, do you have any final thoughts on Elvira the character or Elvira Mistress of the Dark the movie?
No, I think you guys kind of hit it, like her smartassness and like her like embracing of being an outsider. And like kind of when I first came out and started making other gay friends, they were like super into this, and I was like, that's when I really started watching it again, like over and over and over, just sort of like, okay, it's the end of the night, whatever, let's just put Elvira on again. And,
that's crazy that's just kind of this universal appeal of this character.
And what's really cool about the universal appeal of the character for generations is I feel like even younger people, like millennials, is that you always just have a reference for Elvira.
Yeah.
That you don't necessarily have to have grown up in the 80s or like the early 90s.
Yeah.
Like kids now just know who Elvira is because she's always sort of been relevant.
Yeah.
And I feel like she sort of hit a new career renaissance in the early 2010s.
Yeah, I think so.
Too. So,
the reboot of that show, like, didn't it come on? I think it was around like
2014 or 2015. She did a new movie, Macabre.
Yeah.
And like Rue is always all about plugging Elvira on like Drag Race. She's been a guest judge twice. He always has jokes with Mistress of the Dark. And RuPaul does say it's one of his favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
And he says, like, no irony, it's like one of his favorite movies.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, it's a classic. I
feel like it's always on a streaming platform, too. Like, check Hulu or something, and it's there.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, you can find it. Children. This has been a lot of fun talking about this movie.
So, Ben, you work for TCM with our friend Millie.
Yes, we love Millie.
We love Millie. We have to get Millie back on. But it's one of those things that I want to do it in person with Millie. So I'm like wanting to push it off because I love Millie so much that I want to wait until we can do it in person.
Post-COVID.
Right. No, we went to film school together, like here in Atlanta, and so I've known her from ever. Like we've DJ'd together and hung out together and stuff, and so.
Yeah, we've had Millie on for our Mannequin episode, and that was so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because Mannequin is another one that, as a kid, I was just like, what, everybody doesn't just love this movie?
I know, yeah. Cable in the 80s was like, I loved it because they would just show the same movie like 20 times. Like you would be like, okay, it's on like 45 times this month.
Yeah.
I'll watch it again. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's all we had, you know? We didn't have didn't have shows that were tailored for us, so we had to just find like Meshach Taylor in a movie in Hollywood and watch it over and over again.
I love the whole premise of this show. I mean, like, I was like, oh my God, these are the movies that I was obsessed with.
Yeah.
Like the Back to the Beach episode was like, oh my God.
I literally thought I was the only person who watched Back to the Beach. Like, I was shocked that anybody else gave two shits about them.
We're trying to get back to the beach in the collective conscious.
We're doing
our part
to bring it back into like public recognition.
I saw that in the theater.
Oh, I love that.
And with like a group of kids from my neighborhood, and like all the people that like most of the people that were my age were like girls, and they were like a few years older than me, and so they always had like boyfriends and stuff. And so we went there with them. Some of their boyfriends met them. I was obsessed with that movie, and I watched all the Frankie and Annette movies because they were like on like TBS all the time, like growing up, have like a week, and me and my sisters would like watch that. And like,
I feel like since you work at TCM, you and Millie are probably partly responsible for why the beach movies are always on streaming. in the springtime.
Yes, definitely. I try to play those as much as possible. And so Millie does the TCM Underground.
Yeah.
So she gets to show the really, really fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, oh man, this was so much fun.
So much fun.
Thank you for coming on this show. This was amazing.
This is fun. Yeah.
I mean, there's so much to say about Elvira, and how can we filter it down into one podcast?
We were talking earlier because we just did Showgirls and I feel like it's the same for this movie, that we could do another episode of both Showgirls and Elvira. And
we can just keep talking.
We could just keep talking about it.
Yeah, we can just keep talking.
I have a feeling.
We
haven't seen the last of this movie yet.
We might revisit Mistress of the Dark. I mean, there's also Haunted Hills that we haven't even got to, but
no, I couldn't bring that up. I was afraid to go off on another 30-minute tangent.
Yeah.
But so
Haunted Hills is for another discussion.
My theory was that it was she wasn't handled by gays.
Right.
And that's why it went wrong.
Yeah.
But that same the same writer, that Jim guy, or
John Paragon.
So, and he's gay, so I was just sort of my mind was straight people got a hold of her.
Yeah, totally. That's the only explanation. Well, Ben, this was amazing. This was so much fun. Thank you for coming on the show. Do you have anything you'd like to plug while you're here? While you're on?
Are you working anything fun on TCM?
No, we're getting ready to plan for next year and try to figure out what to plan to show while we're all shut in the house.
For sure.
So, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like TCM is one of those shows that when I get older, I feel like back in the day, MTV used to be the channel that you would just go to automatically when you turn on your cable, and now I feel like TCM is that as I'm getting older.
Same. Even before I worked there, just kind of the same. I'm just let's check that on.
It's the aging millennials MTV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you feel also if you watch a movie, it's I basically read a book. You know,
right.
You're I basically read a book. So.
I'm pretty much read an entire novel tonight, so what do you have to say? Nothing. Thank you so much for coming on the show again. Yeah. This was amazing. We will definitely call you again to have you back.
We'll do something else.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, this was amazing. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Bye. Bye. And thank you, everybody, for listening to our
fun episode.
Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Oh, that was so much fun. I could keep talking about this movie.
Yeah.
We haven't even scratched the surface.
We'll save it for another episode.
We're going to save it for another one. This was so good. Scott, where can they find us on social media?
Oh, well, you can find us on Twitter at MTMUG Pod. And on Facebook and Instagram at Movies That Made Us Gay.
That's correct. You can also subscribe and give us 5 stars.
Give us 5 stars.
We would love for you to rate and review our show.
Do it for Elvira.
Do it for Elvira. She's the Mistress of the Dark. She really wants for you to rate us and give us a review. Write us a review. And, we would love for you to come back next week. We will have a fresh new episode of Movies That Made Us Gay. We'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.